Hello world, and welcome back to Minecraft Memoir. This is episode 26. We are finally back. Feels like I had to say that pretty recently, but actually that was 4 months ago. Had to take a bit of time off because I was in the middle of my fall semester at school, and I just really couldn't dedicate any more time to this. I was really struggling last semester, taking some difficult classes. But we're back. I might end up taking another break because my spring semester, which is started last week, is giving me just as much, if not more trouble. So, yeah, the life of a STEM student. So, uh, I bet you're wondering, what have you been doing in the last 4 months? Or if you weren't, I'm still going to tell you. Well, so like I said, I did a bunch of schooling. I uh, also got into a relationship, so that also took up more of my time. Um, but I mean, I wouldn't trade it for the world. uh, but it's definitely a time dedication. Um, and I don't know, I didn't really do a whole lot of stuff um, other than just school and dating. So yeah, uh, I didn't do nothing on this world in that time. I played for a few hours in the last week just to kind of justify to myself all the time I took off from playing. So I did a bunch of mining. We now have two double chests of cobble, so that should be. Uh, I don't think this will be enough to finish the whole build. Maybe it will. Actually, I'm not totally sure. I think we said we needed like 30 something stacks for each pillar. But and by build I mean the spawn tower and viaduct. Uh, so I did a bunch of that. Didn't really get a whole lot of diamonds. I brought a stack back to the house and a bunch of iron and gold and stuff. But we've got a decent supply going here. So I figured I would just kind of talk to you while I pick all the cobble out of this chest, and we'll start walking it back towards the spawn. So yeah, I'm trying to think of like any interesting anecdotes of my life. Oh, geez, my that's weird. The little lock on my chair just gave out. I'm not that big, okay? Uh, what else? Oh, I got a new keyboard in that time. Uh, by the way, you could probably tell. Uh, I just kind of hit record and we've started. So there's no plan yet. I am doing it all as I go. But I just kind of wanted to chat, let you guys know what I'm up to. But I got a new keyboard and a new mouse for Christmas. And they're very nice. Definitely nicer than what I had before. Uh, don't I don't remember the names of either of them, but they're both Logitech. Uh, the keyboard's really nice. It's like very clickety. My last one, the buttons were kind of recessed into the frame of the keyboard. Um, so and they didn't make much noise when you clicked on them, which I don't really care about like keyboard noises. It is very nice. I like listening to it clickety, but also if it didn't click, it'd be fine. Hopefully, this doesn't affect the audio quality too much. I did a test recording and I think you can hear the keyboard a little bit. Like if I press the spacebar here, I think you can hear it. But with the audio filters I have while recording, I don't think it's a huge issue. Let me know if it is. I will absolutely change it. I'll go back to my old keyboard. I don't really mind all that much. But the mouse is super nice. It's got a few more buttons on it, and I love buttons on a mouse. Like the extra ones on the side where your thumb is. They're so nice. When I'm like playing games like I don't know Destiny or God, what else was I playing? Oh, The Witcher 3. Uh, I can, bind all the handy things to my thumb slots. Now I have to move my hands around on the keyboard. So we haven't done anything on this since the last episode. All I did was just mine a whole bunch. Like I pretty much finished the second layer of the strip mine over there. I'm surprised there's, yeah, just no mobs are spawning. I shouldn't have said that out loud. I should have just gone with it. But yeah, we haven't done anything here. I did a bit more designing. I didn't do it in a like test world. I just kind of drew it out, so I don't have an exact plan for it. But I think I mentioned before. Oh, true. I think I mentioned before how this spawn tower was like the same height as these pillars and the bridge. And I didn't like that because it made the spawn tower not subordinate to everything else, but just even with everything else. And the spawn tower is meant to be big and important. So I did come up with a sort of design for the top where it's kind of, how do I describe this? It's sort of going to look like a small washer on top of or underneath a bigger washer. And that little small ring will be kind of where the exit for the railway will go. And then there will be a bigger thing on top. I hope that makes sense. If not, I'll show you. So, yeah, quite a bit of talking. Let me just go back in here. I was going to show you what I was going to do, but really I'm just going to convert a lot of this into slabs and start getting the arches put in. If I don't get the middle bits, like the smooth stone and all that stuff put on, I don't really mind, but I want to get at least the arches framed out so you can see them from a distance. So let's get on that. All right, a few hours later, and here's how we're looking. So like I said, I just put in the stone arches. I didn't fill anything in. I'll do that off camera later. Just doing this took me nearly 3 hours, so it takes a lot, and especially filling it in with the half slabs. Oh, that's gonna be a pain. So you can see right here the peak. The music is so loud. There we go. So the peak of this arch is right there. Instead of having these last, 4 blocks curve back down like this side, I just had them go straight. I figured it would kind of work better with the design. And I didn't really know where the arch would go since it would cut into that open spot. So I think it looks good. I don't think I'll change that. So yeah, I've been kind of brainstorming as I went along here. That first 7-minute clip, I played it back and there's definitely a skill to talking that if you don't use it, you lose it. And I have lost it. So I'm gonna have to work on my whole talking to myself, but not to myself thing again. Because I just ramble or I get quiet and just tail off, and that's not entertaining. So I went all the way down here to this end. I checked the last video, and I did indeed say that it's about 36 stacks for each pillar. So given that we're doing 1, 2, 3, 4, that would be 144 stacks, which is just under 3 double chests of cobble. I also carted over all of the cobblestone I had at the bottom of the mine shaft there to the chests in here. And I think we have 3 double chests, so we should be good, question mark. I might need to make like one last mining trip, but I think we're pretty good. So, been thinking about how I want to make this end. Uh, I believe I also mentioned this, but we're gonna have it like look like it fell apart or right around here at the end, and you know, somebody came by and fixed it up with like wood supports and oh man, fixed up with like wood supports and made their own minecart track over top of it. Uh, if that doesn't make sense, I feel like I've said that once already. If it doesn't make sense, you will see. Uh, so I have to decide like which pillar do I want to start off as the broken one. And I did build this whole thing, so I really don't want to. I feel like it should be this one. Uh, what I was thinking is I would like to extend this beachfront forward more. Uh, and then I'll have it look like the pillar broke kind of that way. So it'll be laying right on the middle of the beach. Um, and so the break line will be kind of a diagonal here. That way it's not just like perfectly flat. And that way you can see like, oh, it is ruins. It's not like just he got lazy. Like it's part of the style. Or partially I am lazy, but they don't need to know. So, oh, yeah, that being said, I will probably have to break this whole pillar now, which is kind of unfortunate, but you know, that's just how it works out. So I'm going to first place a layer of dirt, and then I'll place a sand layer on top. And yeah, so I think I'll build up the beach first before I do anything here. So I went to go figure out the beach here, and then I realized I have no sand. So we are going to head to the desert, I think in this direction, and go get a few stacks. Okie dokie. So got almost a full inventory of sand here. We're running back. Look at that view. I love like the sunrise right behind it. Ah, this is going to look really good when it's done. I am very pleased with how this has turned out so far. So like I said before, I'm going to build up this beach a little bit, and we'll see what I come up with. So here's how we're looking so far. This was shockingly way more materials than you'd think. I had to take a trip to the desert like twice and pretty much get full inventories both times. I have a ton left over, and there's still a bunch in that chest there. So I probably could have just gone once, but I'm also going to need some to build up the land here. As you can see, it's just a floating thing of dirt and sand. But I like to do that and get like the shape all roughed out, and then I'll connect it down in the water. So, so yeah, I was trying to figure out like where do I want this pillar to go. Um, Realistically, I'm trying to think of like why is this pillar lying on the ground? And I think I'm going to shorten the beach here, bring it back a few blocks, and then I'll make it a little wider here. The idea being that this pillar, since it's so close to the beach, was eroded more quickly, or that the foundation of it wasn't stable and, you know, the eroding beach kind of didn't help that. You know, something to tell a little bit of a geological story. Um, I'm not sure 100% on like the physics of this, but I'm assuming that if a pillar were to break, considering that it's connected by this bridge here, it won't fall this way because there's enough pushing it that way. Uh, so it would probably fall like here. I don't think it would fall more than like a 45. So I think probably right Yeah, along this line is where the pillar will be. Given that, since it's falling along this line, I'll make, I think I already said this before, but I'll cut the bridge like on a diagonal there. If I did it like that, then somehow it's falling along this little piece that would have like broken or braced it. So I just like to think about the small details when I'm building something. It kind of helps make everything a little more cohesive. Also, this beach is like super flat, so I'm gonna build out the sand line there and maybe make like a few sand dunes here, there. Uh, I'll probably do that after I get this pillar figured out. Well, firstly, I'm gonna finish making the beach, um, like finish building it into the ground. But then I'll do the pillar, then I'll do the decoration. All right, so I got pretty much the bank of the beach done. I think it's pretty good. It blends into the ground decently well. I might mess around with it, but this is probably how it's going to stay. I also made the beach get a little smaller near that pillar like I said I would. I haven't done anything on the beach, but that's for later. So I was up there unbuilding, just destroying all of my precious work. Uh, and I figured I just want to like offer a few more things before I go ahead and actually tear this pillar down. Uh, for starters, when I offer these suggestions or building ideas, I'm not assuming that you, the viewer, know less than me. It's more just I want you to kind of get an idea of what's going through my head right now, as well as, maybe there's some tips in here that you didn't consider. I'm always watching YouTube videos to try to find things that I never would have thought of. Like, for instance, so these arches are not just decoration, they are part of support. Arches are very structurally sound. That being the case, in whatever little fantasy world we're kind of theming here, I'm going to say that these stone slabs are of a higher density than the cobblestone, or at least they are more resistive to environmental changes, erosion, breaking. So if you see here, they actually go a little farther than the break does, because the cobblestone would be more likely to break when this pillar broke off than these guys. That'll also be the case here, but I haven't taken this off yet. I jumped down because I also wanted to show you guys what I was thinking here. So since it's going to break that way, you would see in something breaking that the material here would go up higher than the material here, because here not only is it breaking, but then the weight of this is falling this way, crushing the material lower down. So I'm not really sure how to explain it super well, but the material on the opposite side of the pillar as I'm looking at it would be a little higher because it wouldn't have broken as much. For anybody who does math, it's like when you take a cylinder like this and you put a plane through it at an angle, instead of it making just a regular circle, it makes an ellipse because this way is longer than this way. So I think I'll probably make the break right about there, probably right in the middle of this. I know this is 10 blocks, so probably about 5 blocks up here. And then or maybe it'll be 4 blocks, and it'll angle back like 7 blocks or so. I don't know. But these guys, especially this one, will be a little taller. So here is our broken pillar. I think it looks pretty good. I totally forgot while doing this that this is actually a solid like panel. It's not a 2 arch thing. It's like a 1 arch strip. So I gotta put those in. I totally forgot. But yeah, I think it looks pretty good. You can see the strip on the back side's a little longer because again, it's higher material, or not higher material, higher density, question mark. So the top of these things is at Y 113.62, and this starts at 73. So wait, really? Huh. Okay, so 40 blocks. That works out really well. Let me see. So generally, it'll be, okay, 38 blocks. So I'm just trying to get that measurement for this guy. And then 65 to 75, so that's 10 tall. So generally, if I'm making something that looks like it's broken, I've built a handful of runes in my day. Maybe not in such an early version, but I've done a little bit. So generally, I make it 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 or so. I will make the item that has like fallen off just a little farther away. Just the idea being like maybe it bounced a little bit. I know it's really heavy, but even really heavy things can bounce when you drop them really high. So maybe we'll put it like here, and then you know, go over what I say 38. So I'll have to figure this out on my own time, but yeah, this is how we're looking. So now I have the challenge of building a cylinder shape on a diagonal and putting in the little ellipses at the, or at least at one end. Although maybe I'll make it break off. I'm not really sure, but let me start designing out the broken pillar. Progress update. I wanted to kind of show you guys how I figure out how to build on diagonals, especially with something complicated like a cylinder on a diagonal. Uh, Sometimes you just don't know how to start. So what I do is I like to figure out the short faces. So that'd be like the circle of the cylinder. I built a little mock of it here just so I kind of knew what sort of radius I was working with. 5 empty, 7 full. So I figured out a sort of circle. I built it over here first that sort of mimicked that size, and it looks, decent, okay. But the corners are kind of, just corner to corner. So you need a lot of those, right? So first I figure out the face, then I figure out what sort of line will this be following. So initially I had built one of these guys. It's 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, and so on. And then I place the circle, or whatever face, somewhere on that line. And then I figure out, okay, is it good and centered, which this guy looks like it is. And then I figure how many blocks back do I need to repeat that circle? Or can I repeat that circle anyway? So here's what I came up with. So on the second length, so this was one of the ones. This was 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, and so on. So I put the stone here, so it makes these sort of lightning bolt shapes. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to build a bunch of these circles. You see I staggered them all the way back. I'll build a bunch of those circles, and then I'll just figure out how can I connect this circle to that one, and then that one to that one, and so on. I also want to point out, so from the bottom of the pillar to there is a little over 10 blocks like I wanted, but from the bottom of the pillar there to here is only about 24 blocks. Maybe a little more if you consider they're on a diagonal, but that still leaves us with, well, let's say that it's like 28 blocks. That leaves us with 10 blocks because you remember it was about 38 from where I broke it to the top. So I'm gonna have to build something else. I was thinking something that might be cool is like, because there's also the whole top of the bridge, right? So maybe we could have it where, the top of the bridge is like this, and then, or it'd be more like this, right? Because it'd still be in the same direction as the cylinder. But it's like one edge of the cylinder and one edge of the broken platform bit are kind of sticking up here. So, and it's like in the water, right? Because it broke off right here because it hit the beach, and then it broke more into the water. So it'll be two pieces, maybe more. Right. So now that I've got all these rings built, it took longer than I thought it would. Now what I like to do is just figure out how I can piece them together. I try to build the rings as close together as I can. That way there's as little guessing as possible. So I can already see that's how that's going to connect. And that's how that's going to connect. Pretty much I'll just mirror that top and bottom. And then for figuring out these empty holes, I'll just kind of do the same. Figure out how can I make these mesh together without looking too strange. I'm assuming it's just going to be like that. So, yeah. And when you're all done, this is what you're probably going to get. Hopefully, maybe. Who knows? Uh, diagonals are always weird. They never always look perfect, but I think this is pretty good. It gets the point across. So now I'm just going to dress it up, give the little siding bits and yeah, make it look solid. And now, time for the final reveal. Not final, but final for tonight. I got class tomorrow, so it's like 1 a.m. But here's how we're looking. I think it came out pretty dang good. You see, I didn't add the top bit in the water there like I said I would. Again, it's really late. I'll do it later, or maybe not at all. I was thinking, well, yeah, I guess I'll just say it. I'm thinking of like making a museum at some point. It might not be anytime soon. It could literally be like years from now. But I was thinking it'd be kind of cool, like some future build that includes a museum. We put the little T-piece in there, and like historians are wondering what this strange object is, and they don't know that's part of like this ruins because it's just gotten moved around so much. Just, again, little story. So this is how it's looking. The entire inside is hollow. I didn't show the other end there, I don't think, but this is what this end looks like. I think it came out pretty okay. I was having a really hard time figuring out like the translation of this shape to this shape. Also, it being on a diagonal, and I rotated it 45 degrees. It like was just really giving me trouble. Like the first you can see here, like this length here is 10 blocks. And so I was just kind of going off of that, like, okay, because all the other blocks, these guys aren't really attached to the pillar, so I just figured I wouldn't build them. Or maybe I'll build like an idea of them later. But, if this is 7 blocks, okay, that means that 3 stayed on the pillar when it broke. So, and I just kind of went from there, but it was really hard. I think it's all right. Yeah. So this is pretty much the end of the video. In between this and the next video, I'm gonna try to fill in the bits here. Potentially get all of the stone part of this viaduct finished in preparation for next time, where we will almost definitely be building the wooden part of it and maybe linking it up to our house, question mark. That'd be very nice, so I don't have to keep running back. But yeah, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in the next one. Take care.